This week we create Old MacDonald and his farm in 2 cakes. We are starting with a 6-inch round already covered in white. All steps to get to this are in the description box as individual tutorials. You can cover it in blue paste if you like, but I'm going to gently airbrush mine with teal chroma colour. On a larger board, around 13 or 14 inch, stick the 6-inch to one side using ganache, chocolate or royal icing. Then next to it, place on a 5-inch cake covered in green. This was Renshaw's yellow paste mixed with green paste to make a lime colour. Once those have set in place, roll out some more green and cut out 2 hump shapes so it leaves a point. This should fit around both cakes. Gently manoeuvre the paste to sit up against the bottom of the cakes, trim off the overhang and smooth it out with a smedger. Do the exact same thing on the back, smoothing the joints together where it meets on the outer edges. Dampen the top of the 6-inch and cut out a wavy circle shape to fit. As you place it on, you can stretch it a little if it's too small. Just gently pull it, or cut it right the first time. We can't all be perfect. Smooth down the edges and rub the bottom humps to soften the cut edge. Cut a similar wavy pattern but smaller in brown for a muddy puddle. Stick this to the 5-inch ever so slightly to the right to leave room for a tiny ramp. Again, tap all the edges to soften them. For drips, roll little teardrop shapes and add a few to the edges. Whilst the paste is still soft, cut out a wave from the board's edge. Use your cutout as a guide to cut the same shape from baby blue. Insert this into the empty space and use the fatty part of your hand to push and blend the joins. The barn is made from foam core, as always. I'm not measuring here, I'm just using a ruler for straight edges. I'm cutting out a barn shape with sloped sides and a sloped roof. I'll leave a link to the foam core in the description box along with everything else I use. Once you've got your desired shape, cut it out with a scalpel. The beauty of this is that it's foam in the middle, allowing you to insert supports easily. Pop a kebab stick in each end and then trim them down. Add piping gel to the edges to help the paste stick. Roll out some red paste and cover the front of your barn. Trim off unnecessary weight and flip it over onto a foam pad to protect it. Attach the sides and trim it flat with a scalpel. Flip it back over and then texture it with a Dresden tool in one direction for a wood effect. Cut out some strips from white paste and use these to construct a door on the front. Start with the frame and then the crossover in the middle. With a circle cutter, cut right through the paste and remove the inside. Replace it with a blob of black paste flattened to fit. With the same size cutter, cut out a white circle and chop it in half. Add these at either side for shutters by scoring in lines and adding little hinges with ovals of paste. A windowsill is just a strip of white underneath. Push this down into the 6-inch towards the back. Dampen the top edge and cut out a chunky strip from white. Lay this over the edge and cut it to size. To define the edges a bit, just squash it with a smoother. Roll out some white paste with Tylo powder added and grab a wooden texture mat. I have this green one, which also comes in a brick pattern. They usually have an outer edge which can cause a harsh line, so I've cut mine off with scissors. If you don't have a wooden texture mat, you can just score in lines like we did on the barn. Just press it into the paste and then cut out strips all the same width. Trim the top into a point for fence posts. Add some horizontal strips of white to the 6-inch for the fence supports before sticking them on with water. Roll out a long sausage of darker green and run it all around the bottom of the 5-inch. Squash it flat with your hand and pull out points of grass towards the board. Then, using a shell tool to make it a little bit quicker, stroke upwards to make the grass taller. For trees, roll a tapered sausage from dark brown and bend it up the side of the 6-inch. Add on some branches and then flatten an oval of green before rocking your finger over the edges to create dips. Flatten it out and stick it above the tree branches. Add a few more trees and fences around the rest of the tier for a scene. Simple balls of red make cartoony apples. Stick 2 blobs of a paler brown on the edge of the 6-inch for the ramp supports. Cut a rectangle of paste with Tylo added and mark in some lines. Place it on top of the supports and rest it onto the 5-inch. For the farmer, roll a tapered cone from blue. This is Renshaw's Atlantic Blue. Pinch in near the top for a waist and trim off the top flat. Bend the sausage onto its bum and separate the legs with the Dresden tool. Add in some creases to the pants and chop the legs down to size. Sit it on the ledge and secure it with a kebab stick, leaving some showing to support the head. With a pale blue oval, push this down and merge it with the torso. Trim this to size 2. Push in a cocktail stick to support the arm, which is a sausage with the bottom cut at an angle. Feed this down the stick by twisting and trim in the sleeve. The hand is a ball of flesh flattened and a notch cut out to make a thumb. Do yours on the cutting mat, not your hand. Add in another arm and the waving hand. Roll thin strings of blue for the straps and finish with a small yellow ball for a button. Flatten a strip of flesh paste and push it around the stick, cutting off the excess at the back and shortening it from the top. Roll dark brown into fat teardrops for the shoes. The sheep's legs are grey sausages with Tylo added and cut flat at each end. Stick all these together a bit like a cube. Add them to the left of the farmer and mark in a line at the front for hooves. Insert cocktail sticks down 2 of the legs and move on to the pig whilst they firm up a little. The pig's body is a bit like an upside down plant pot shape. Stick this into the middle of the mud and insert a cocktail stick. Roll a small tapered sausage and cut a slit in the end for its little trotters. Thin out the end and trim down the arm at an angle. The head is a flattened oval secured onto the stick, and another mini flattened oval creates a snout on the front. Press in nostrils and eye holes with a small ball tool. The ears are flattened lemon shapes with a Dresden tool marking the centres. Poke in holes at either side of the head and press in the ears. Fill in the eyes with black and those all-important white catchlights. Now the sheep's body. Roll a ball of white and push it down onto the sticks to support it. With a star tip, or one of these fancy twisted ones that I found in my ancient collection that I never pipe with, stab and twist the paste to make a fluffy-like texture. Pop in another stick to hold the head, which is a soft square of grey. Add in nostrils and eye holes in the same way. The hair is a flattened patch of white, also textured, and ears are the same, but they're pointing down. The horse's legs are also done in the same way, just longer, with flattened balls of brown on the bottom. Squeeze all the tops together so they meet to create a smaller area. The body is a cone of brown pressed into a waist and the end bent up into the neck. Add this to the legs and chop the neck down flat before inserting a kebab stick at an angle so it disappears into the legs. Whilst that dries, chop some paste into rectangles of yellow. Score lines on the sides for the hair and then texture the ends with the sharp end of the Dresden tool. Do all the sides and mark in vertical lines to look like strings tying the bill. Make 3 of these and stack them in front of the 5-inch. Add on the horse's head and trim the snout with a slightly darker brown. Add nostrils, eyes and ears in the same way and a mane with dark brown spikes. A small cocktail stick will support the tail, which is a leaf shape with hairlines marked in. Finally, the farmer's head is also done in the same way, but this time a tiny smile marked in. Flatten some brown paste and wrap around the back of the head. Ears are flattened discs of flesh on each side. A pale brown circle is the start of a flat cap, with a smaller one on the top squashed on. The name is cut with tappets. Yep, I know, a lot of you get frustrated with the little devil things, but I have a whole video on the tricks to using them and getting the results you want, which I will link below. Once you have your letters, line them up and then smear some Trex or Crisco onto some greaseproof paper. Place it sticky side down onto the letters and tap them to adhere them to the paper. Turn it over and add water to the backs of the letters. Now you can hold up the name exactly where you want it and press it against the cake. Push on all the letters before peeling back the paper. The ducks start as a stubby sausage of yellow, pinched in for a neck. Bend it and tease the fatter end into a body and a pointy tail. Stick 2 of them into the little pond and add beaks with small sausages of orange. Make a hen's body the same way in brown, but add a tail a bit like the horse's. Two small teardrops of red go under the beak and a wavy piece of red for the head. Finish with a cone of yellow for its beak and don't forget its eyes. Finally, fill in any gaps with clusters of grass. And we're done. I added another rooster to the roof secured with a cocktail stick and also the age. Hope you enjoyed this one. There was a lot to get through with all those animals. Finish off scenes with fallen apples, extra mud drips and don't forget the back too. Let me know in the comments below if you think nursery rhymes are still popular, like Old MacDonald, or have they been completely taken over by Paw Patrol and Peppa Pig. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so you don't miss out on new tutorials every week. Thanks guys, see you soon!